from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to the Thursday night edition of our program. We're live, we're national. If you want to give us a call, feel free. 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. And it's like we have to continue unpacking all of the stuff that's going on, right? But the big story for me, I don't know about for you, because there's not a lot of news out there. But one thing I can definitely say is, fact check, Trump was right. Yep, check this out. There's a number of things. Obviously, last night we had a caller calling us from Canton, Ohio, that's not immediately close to Springfield, Ohio, saying that all over Ohio, it's not just Springfield, Ohio, all over Ohio these things are happening. That incident where the police officer arrested the woman for eating a cat in a driveway. I don't know if it was her driveway, her neighbor's driveway. I really don't know. But the neighbors saw the lady laying down on the ground and eating the cat, and they called the police. The police got there. On the police body cam footage, you could see that when they arrived, she's got the cat right under her. It's a quick glance from the body cam thing, but you could see that it's bloody, and it's just crazy. And he then asked her to smile so he could take a picture of her mouth and any blood, fur, whatever it is that was in her mouth. And the eyewitnesses all gave that same account, and we talked about that on the show last night. Well, in addition to that, there's a bunch of other news. There's a story about a potential whistleblower from ABC News. That's a big deal. I'm going to get to that in a second, because who doesn't want to learn a little bit about the good old ABC News whistleblower? But I want to talk about something that President Trump put out, because this is interesting to me. And we'll talk about it a little bit more in depth as we go through the night. Trump putting out a post on Truth Social, his social media account. Massive news, the Department of Justice just released a brand new crime data, showing that I was absolutely and completely right at the debate. In fact, the data is even worse than we could have ever imagined. Compared to 2020, violent crime is up nearly 40%. Rape is up 42%. Aggravated assaults are up 55%. Violent crime with a weapon is up 56%. Violent attacks on strangers are up 61%. Car theft is up 42%. And the most serious forms of violent crime are up 55%. Our cities are under siege. And this doesn't include the migrant crime and migrant rape spree that's overtaken our cities in recent months. Kamala crime is destroying America and gangs are taking over. Leave it to Trump to really throw it in there. But look, he was right. And on top of that, they're going to eat your pets. They're going to eat your geese, your dogs, your cats. I mean, it's just absolute insanity. Now, look, I think many of us have seen this happen, right? Just before today, earlier today, I was walking in my front door. I saw a kid I went to high school with. I forgot. I knew that he lived in my town, but I didn't remember. And I saw him. I was like, "Oh, what are you doing around here?" He's like, "Oh, I live around the corner." We talked a little bit, and he was telling me he's a building manager in Midtown Manhattan, and that as we were talking about that, I was telling him, I used to be in Manhattan every day, but I get to broadcast out of a couple of different studios right outside the city. That makes it a little easier. He said, "Oh, what lucky you." And I said, yeah, it's kind of crazy in the city all the time. And he's 100% right. Midtown Manhattan's on fire. It really is. I mean, there are migrants everywhere. There used to be this beautiful theater and apartment complex called The Row. It's right outside the Lincoln Tunnel. It's still there. It's just not beautiful anymore. You used to have the Roosevelt Hotel, once a very nice hotel. I believe Tesla died there, if I'm not mistaken. A very nice hotel, fancy hotel. And that's also just a dormitory for the migrants coming from all over the country. And it's hard to kind of put a picture to this, right? To describe it in words, because it looks like a jail, right? It looks like a prison when you pass it. It's just men everywhere. There's men everywhere. There's no women there, and they're just hanging out. They're all young, and they're hanging out, and they all have mopeds or bicycles that are all parked in the outside of it's just really a sight for sore eyes, as they say. So I say that to say, not to disparage anybody trying to pursue the American dream or anything like that, as the left would likely put it, or some of our callers here might put it. But the reality is, Trump told us about this, right? And it's not that he's Nostradamus. It's that the writing was on the wall. When Trump came into office, there was already a migrant problem. And he did everything he could to resolve that problem. And as we got it under control, especially with COVID and everything like that, it was a non-issue. But leave it to Joe Biden to break a good thing. And I'm sure there's a lot more to it, right? This is not just bad policy or ineptitude. This is a clear complicity to oversee the biggest human smuggling, trafficking, human slavery operation that I think we've ever seen in our country. And Joe Biden's at the top of that food chain. Who he reports to, I don't know. Why he does it, I don't know. That we can speculate about. We can get our tinfoil hats and come up with all the theories in the world. But that's actually happening. And it's a very, very sad day for our country, sad week, sad year. And it gives me a sense of understanding. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'll sit here in that first or second week of November, once we're done counting all the ballots, and I'll say, you know what, I was wrong, folks. Eating crow, egg on my face. We didn't pull through. They were able to do X, Y, and Z. But I'm pretty certain that if we don't take our foot off the gas, if everybody does what they need to do to fact check the fact checkers, right, like this ABC News stuff, then we'll be all right. Like Newsweek is reporting here that some pundits and political experts are talking about what's going on. And there's some controversy now. It's coming from online, so it's still uncorroborated, which means if I were a newsman, I wouldn't talk about it. But I'm an opinion man, so I'm going to tell you what I'm hearing. And this controversy is regarding information about a potential affidavit, a signed affidavit from an ABC whistleblower, blower, regarding the debate. And this is a quote that was posted on Twitter. It says, "I will be releasing an affidavit from ABC whistleblower regarding the debate. I've just signed a non-disclosure agreement with the attorney of the whistleblower." And, of course, a lot of people are really interested in this, and they're tweeting it. And Rudy Giuliani was just talking about this on his TV show. Let me see. And I think the post has over 1 million people that have now liked and retweeted and whatever. Anyway, bottom line here is that's the rumor mill, that someone is saying that the debate questions were, in fact, leaked. Now, I don't know. We can't confirm that yet, but that is an unconfirmed report that we'll keep you up to speed on. But I'm curious to know, and that would make a lot of sense as to why things were so smooth. But you can't believe everything you hear, right? There was another thing I saw where there was a guy at the Electronics Expo, and he's talking to a woman about this modern earpiece. It's actually a pair of pearl earrings. And the woman's like, yeah, you just put these on your ears and you can hear whatever you can hear your music, or you can hear someone talking to you, blah, 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 blah. And somebody on the internet decided to say, oh my gosh, that looks just like the earrings Kamala Harris was wearing. Now, I can't prove any of this stuff. So why on earth would I jump down that rabbit hole other than to get people that are already frustrated and mad more frustrated and mad, and seemingly become a provocateur or a purveyor of misinformation, disinformation? So I'm not going to get into that. But I will say that that's some of the chatter that's online. This is what they talk about, amongst other things, right? But that's some of the stuff they're talking about as of late. So I want to talk about fact-checking the fact-checkers. I want to talk about these legal cases. I mean, just a couple of days ago, our buddy James O'Keefe got an undercover video of one of the prosecutors in New York actually saying that they went after Trump for lawfare, that the whole thing was contrived, the whole thing was political. And there's just so much that's coming to light right now that even the people that are not interested in politics likely will be interested in politics, just like many of you that are listening that don't always listen to the radio at night. But you're like, you know what, I want to get up to speed on the issues. I want to hear what's going on, so I'm going to tune in. So I'm looking forward to breaking it down with former Special Assistant to President Trump, Marc Lotter. He joins us next.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. America at Night, your home for the best election coverage.
Their job is to be facilitators. They're not to get involved themselves. It's different than if you had someone on your show and you asked them a question and they answered in a different way than they'd said a month before. You would correct them. But moderators are not supposed to do that. A debate is between the candidates, not a debate between the candidate and the moderators. And these moderators, as far as I was concerned, it was the worst performance that I've seen. And as I said, I've done 33 of these things over the years. I don't know what their thoughts were, but they clearly were oversized, I think, on the way they treated the former president and the way they treated the present vice president. I think they bent backwards to help her.
That's Frank Fahrenkopf. He is the co-chair of the Commission on Presidential Debates, and he was angry. He said, look, they weren't facilitating anything. They got involved themselves. And he says it was the worst performance that he'd seen. He's done 33 of these things over the years. And that they bent over backwards to help Kamala Harris and her buddy Tim Walz, who was waiting in the wings. And this is pretty interesting because, again, when I say it, when anybody else says it in talk radio and TV land, nobody cares. They're like, these blowhards. But this guy, he's the co-chair of the Commission on Presidential Debates. This is a big deal. So to weigh in on that and a lot of other hot items in the news, I want to welcome back our friend, former Special Assistant to President Trump. He's also former Director of Special Communications for the Trump 2020 campaign. Marc Lotter, welcome back, sir.
No, it's great to be with you, Rich.
You bet. So I don't know if you'd heard this audio before from Mr. Fahrenkopf, the co-chair of the Committee on Presidential Debates, but what are your thoughts regarding what he said?
Well, I think he's absolutely right. I mean, there was no question that the moderators were very pro-Vice President Harris and anti-Donald Trump. But, really, when I think about it, it's like when we're arguing about the moderators, we're losing.
Yeah.
When I look at what Kamala Harris did over the course of 90 minutes, and it's no different than what she did at the convention. It's no different than what she did at the debate. It's no different than what she did on stage today. She can't answer the fundamental question of, A, will you take responsibility for the mess you created with inflation, the mess you created at the border, and what are your specific policies to change it? Because you talk about turning the page, you wrote the page. You're on the page that you want to turn from.
100% right. And I think this is a big problem because it's a double-edged sword. While we're sitting there beating up the so-called pseudo fact-checkers, we're all missing the message, right? And so are the independents and moderates and everybody else that was actually trying to make a decision based off the debate. So, Marc Lotter, there's a lot of contention out there. People are saying Trump won, Trump lost, this and that. I really say if, by category, I think Kamala Harris chalked up a win on style because she's done better here than she'd done in the past. But on substance, a big fat zero. And Trump nailed it, got 100% on substance because he answered questions. He refuted her claims with solid fact and, in my opinion, parts of his record, which he was able to stand on. That's not something she can do.
No, you're absolutely right. Look, this is a debate. I mean, I think we look at debates differently than, say, like I would, because I'm a professional political operative. I know that elections are all math problems. How do you get to 270? What do you have to do to win this state or that state, which ultimately gets you to 270? The debate was not about the 45% who support Kamala, the 47% who support Donald Trump. It's about that 3 to 5% that haven't made their minds up yet. And Kamala Harris did not offer any of those people any kind of real plan to lower gas and grocery prices, to secure the southern border, to deal with the world that is spinning out of control. And the benefit is that people know that Donald Trump has a plan. He already did it. He proved it. He did it once before. He can do it again. The pressure was on Kamala Harris, and she failed.
100% right. Folks, we're on with Marc Lotter, former special assistant to President Trump and former director of communications for the Trump 2020 campaign. And Marc Lotter, Trump today says, and I think, again, I want to see him have more debates, but it makes sense. He's ahead. He's already done 2. What else do you want to ask from this guy? He says no more debates. They continue to talk about debates. People are firing back saying Kamala Harris is talking more about debates than she is about the economy that she's broken and how she's going to fix it. What do you think?
No, absolutely right. I mean, she can't answer the question because she is the reason. She was the tie-breaking vote on the American so-called rescue plan and the misnamed, and even Joe Biden admits this, the misnamed Inflation Reduction Act, which increased inflation, which caused the gas and grocery and store prices to skyrocket. And so how can she say we need a new way forward when she wrote the plan for the way we are right now? You know, I was on CNN earlier tonight. I was talking to Paul Magala, and there's a fundamental difference. Kamala Harris is running Barack Obama's 2008 campaign with a bit of hope and change, and then Joe Biden's basement strategy from 2020. But there's a fundamental reason why that won't work. You know, you go back to 1992 with Bill Clinton, people blamed George H.W. Bush for the mild recession we had in 91. Mm-hmm. You go back to 2008, people blamed George W. Bush for the Great Recession. People blame Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for the inflation and things that we have right now. You can't just do bumper sticker slogans for a problem you created in the first place.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And this is the point I've been making. I don't know if I've been finding the right words to say it, but I'm thinking, how is it that just because you go on TV and you say words, you're going to fool people into thinking that they have more money than they actually have, or that they're going on a better vacation than they're going on, or they're going on vacation at all? That's something I think that they're not going to be able to overcome. Now, the only other part of that puzzle is, does their disdain, their hatred of Trump and pro-life movement and things like that Trump stands for, does that outweigh their common sense? I think for some people, yes. For others, no. But do you think it's enough of a percentage?
Well, look, there are going to be people that vote on single issues, such as abortion. And there is the radical left that believes in abortion up to the moment of birth, which Kamala Harris and Tim Walz do. And there are people who are on the side of life. They're both going to come out based on that issue regardless. But I think folks who are going to actually critically look at this are looking at their wallet, they're looking at the border, and that's where Trump wins.
Amen to that. Marc Lotter, stick with us. I got a couple of more questions for you. Folks, we're on with Marc Lotter, former special assistant to President Trump. We're coming right back with me, Rich Valdez. Don't go anywhere.
By the way, your ratings are up. Congratulations. I had somebody. It's always nice to check. I like to see, even if they're friends, I like to see how are they doing. Are people listening, right?
That's
but
right.
You're doing great.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
I'm also announcing that as part of our additional tax cuts, we will end all taxes on overtime. You know what that means? Think of that. Think of that. Think of that. that gives people more of an incentive to work. It gives the companies it's a lot easier to get the people. And, I went to some economists, great ones, and I said, what do you think? They said, it would be unbelievable. You'll get a whole new workforce by doing that. No taxes on overtime. The people who work overtime are among the hardest working citizens in our country. And for too long, no one in Washington has been looking out for them. Those are the people. They really work. They're police officers, nurses, factory workers, construction workers, truck drivers, and machine operators. It's time for the working man and woman to finally catch a break, and that's what we're doing, because this is a good one. And I think it's going to be great for the country.
That is El Trompito Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States, at a rally in Tucson, Arizona, making a huge announcement, big announcement that if elected, he's moving forward with a plan to stop taxing overtime. Our guest is Marc Lotter. You've seen him on television. He's been on this program before, former special assistant to President Trump, former communications director in the 2020 campaign. Marc Lotter, what do you think about this? I think this is a big deal.
I think it's a great plan because it's rewarding American workers who are putting in the extra hours. If you're working those 40 hours a day, if you're taking that salary, yeah, you're paying your taxes. But if you're working extra, if you're getting paid by the hour and you want to come in on that extra shift, you want to stay those extra hours, you want to drive those extra miles, you're actually getting more of your money. And it's not going to the federal government. It's a brilliant plan. And when you're talking about rebuilding America's manufacturing sector, when we need to bring back manufacturing from China, from Asia, and onshore these jobs again, I think it's a brilliant plan that is, the only thing I want to add, I want to have the president add to it, because you know what the next question is going to be. How are you paying for it?
Right.
Well, every dollar is going to be cut from the federal budget.
Love that.
Just finish the deal.
That's it. And he's talked about abolishing the Department of Education. So that would be a twofer, and it would drive the libs insane. I think that would be crazy.
Elon Musk is going to lead the efficiency commission. Trust me, Elon Musk will find the money to pay for it.
Just like he found that sink at Twitter, right, that he threw out. That's great. And I think that's an amazing thing. I heard Elon Musk doing an interview. I forget with who, and I didn't grab the clip, but he's talking about that, how he spoke about that with Trump. And the guy says, do you think, the interviewer says, do you think that you're going to be able to pull it off? He says, well, I think they're going to fight back. And he says, and it could be difficult, but like where there's a will, there's a way type of thing. And I'd love to see that happen. Now, Marc Lotter, what do you think are some of the obstacles Trump faces here with a plan like this? Is this something that executive action can do? Is this something he's going to need partners and leaders in Congress to codify into law?
Well, I'm not an expert on the federal tax system, and it's an entire industry here in D.C. to figure out federal taxes. But I do believe it would require Congress. The good thing is, though, is that you could do this. You could do this via what they call reconciliation, which doesn't require 60 votes in the Senate. Because, look, the Democrats, even though they say they're for working voters, they're not for working people. They're only for their favored few. So if you did this through reconciliation, you can change the tax code with just a simple majority in the United States Congress, which means if we hold the House of Representatives and we pick up the Senate, and right now we're favored to win the Senate, you put Donald Trump in the White House, this could happen, and it could happen early next year.
It sounds very, very optimistic, and I love it. I'm with you. It's an ambitious thing, and I'm happy. I'm happy that it's happening. I was looking at two polls. Yes, Monday night, Tuesday night, the Marist poll and the New York Times poll. Trump is up in both of them, and I think that's fantastic. I'm going to presume that he's also going to see a little bit of a jump in his poll numbers from the debate. What's your sense of that?
Well, there's a poll that came out today from the internal pollster from the campaign, and I was obviously talking to my friends in the campaign, that shows that prior to the debate, the race was tied 46-46. After the debate, Kamala stayed at 46, and Donald Trump jumped up to 48. That's good news. But, I don't ever take any of these polls by themselves. There's inherent biases in all of the polls, so I look at the averages. And here's the things that I take away from it. Number one, Trump is winning. Kamala Harris is anywhere between 5 and 8 points back behind where Joe Biden was in 2020. She's 3 to 5 points behind where Hillary Clinton was in 2016 nationally. But when you get to the battleground states, because that's where this is going to be fought, she's 3 to 5 points behind in all the battleground states. And we've been doing this for 10 years. Donald Trump doesn't underperform the polls. He overperforms the polls by about 3%. So if he's already up maybe 3 to 5% and he underperforms, it says to me that Donald Trump's winning this race, and that's why Kamala Harris came out right after the debate and said, I want another one.
Yeah, right. And that makes a lot of sense to me that she would want another one because I'm thinking, the one wasn't enough, right? She really wanted to come in and stay on top, I think is what it was. And I think he hit her despite her not being happy with the mic muting and David Muir coming in with the assist and all of that stuff. Now, I guess final question to you is Morning Consult has Harris 50 to 45 over Trump. This is, I think, as of this morning. Reuters Ipsos, that's from Thursday, has her leading by 5, 47 Harris, 42 Trump. I haven't looked at the crosstabs on these, but I'm wondering if you have any insight on it and your thoughts.
Well, I think, obviously both Morning Consult and Ipsos have overestimated the Democrats historically. And the things, again, that I look at the crosstabs, I look at the demographic breakdown, and I don't do it from party standpoint. What I'm looking at is, let's use 2020 as a baseline. 2020 was decided, whether you believe it, don't believe it, that's not the question. It's 43,000 votes in 3 states. And when you look at Pennsylvania, it was 81,000 votes. Donald Trump is performing double, nearly triple what he got in 2020 with the black vote. He's increased his percentage with the Hispanic vote by 10%. There's no way that he can lose when he's getting 1 out of 5 black voters. There's no way he can lose when he is improving his performance with Hispanic voters by 10%. And if just 1%, maybe 2% of college-educated suburban women, which the Democrats love to talk about, if 1 or 2% of them say, you know what, we tried it your way, I can't afford groceries, the electric bill, the gas bill are outrageous, the car insurance bill has gone up by 50%, and the border's wide open and I don't feel safe in my community. If they go, you know what, I don't really love his tweets or the way he talks about people, but God, I can't afford not to vote for him again. This thing is a landslide.
I'm with you on that one. Marc Lotter, let everybody know how they can find you, how they follow you, and keep up to speed with the work you're doing.
It's Marc with a C _Lotter on the social media. You can follow me at AmericaFirstPolicy.com as well.
Outstanding. Marc Lotter, I want to thank you for being with us, sir. You're a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot. I'm going to tap into your wisdom again soon before too long as this stuff begins to heat up.
55 days to go.
Amen to that, brother. Godspeed. Folks, we're coming right back with your calls and a bunch more. I've got an interesting clip from a Republican strategist on CNN that's saying, you really can't be for fracking and for the Green New Deal. Wait till you hear this one. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
so glad to be on your show, Rich. It's just an amazing broadcast that I hope the rest of America listens to every day.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
When you say that you support the Green New Deal, but you also support fracking, those two ideals are not consistent. The end result of supporting the Green New Deal is to end fossil fuels. You can't say I support this, but also, by the way, you can have your fracking too. And so for people in Pennsylvania, those skeptical folks that are in the middle, that 5% that may determine which way that state goes, they're going to look at that and they're going to say, well, is this political pandering? Is this political expediency? Is the vice president saying whatever she needs to say to potentially win, but she doesn't believe it? And we weren't clear. She did not give a clear or decisive answer in that regard.
I think that makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. Right? When you really put your thinking cap on, this is clearly a conflict of interest for anybody who's a real environmentalist. Right? If you are a Green New Dealer, well, guess what? You can't really be for any type of fossil fuel, right? You can't drill for liquid natural gas or break shale rock for hydrofractured gas or any of that stuff. We don't do that. And I think she's going to have a price to pay when it comes to the ideological purists in that movement, and of which there are many. I think she's going to pay a price. She's going to either have to say, I am who you think I am, or I'm not who you think I am. And it's going to be the win or the loss for her in Pennsylvania. So if she wants to write off Pennsylvania, then she's got to focus on just a handful of other states to try to get to 270. And it may not happen. It may not happen. So that's a really big consideration. That and I haven't yet to see a poll on that. I'd love to see that, because after the debate, I feel like people aren't sold, right? People aren't sold on her, I'm going to say, honesty. It's not a foregone conclusion. So anyway, there's another poll I want to talk about here. Harris versus Trump, CBS News poll. Look at this. It gets tighter and tighter. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Let's see. As of 3 days ago, she was still ahead, but 3 days ago was let's see, right? Debate was Tuesday night. 3 days ago was Tuesday night. So this is likely before the debate. And she's ahead by 1 point in those states. So I think this is going to really cut into, and she was tied with Trump. It was 50-50 in Pennsylvania. So I'm curious to see. I haven't seen anything come out yet. If you've seen one, give us a call and let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. 833-482-5337, 833-482-5337. You would think that I would know that number like by heart. I don't. Forgive me. 833-4-Valdez. All right. I'm going to take a pause right here. Coming right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-Valdez. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-Valdez. That's Valdez with an S.
Mr. Call Screener, who is a budding radio star, by the way. Richie Valdez is terrific.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
How much daylight right now is there between what you believe would I call you an economic populist? Is there daylight between you and President Trump right now?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, obviously he selected me as his running mate, and I'm trying to run to implement and win on the Trump agenda. But I think that President Trump's economic views are actually pretty straightforward American conservatism, which is we need to manufacture things in this country. We need common sense energy and regulatory policies to be able to make things. And the best way to lift up workers is to promote good jobs and good wages, not to just throw everybody on welfare, which I think is in some ways the main thrust of the Kamala Harris economic policy. So there's definitely some element of populism to it because, look, I do think that for 30 years in this country, we shipped a lot of good manufacturing jobs to places like East Asia. Now China makes some of the critical things that we need, antibiotics, prescription drugs, even, God forbid, the weapons that our troops would need if we went to war against a nation like China. So we have to be a little bit smarter about our own self-reliance as a nation. That is one departure, I think, between President Trump's vision and, frankly, 30, 40 years of failed leadership in this country.
That is United States Senator J.D. Vance. And Vance, of course, talking about the difference between the Trump-Vance plan for the economy and Kamala Harris. And what's interesting here is you have the moderator asking them if there's daylight between the two of them, you know, if there's some nuance, if there's a difference of opinion on these policies. And I guess it's a fair question. But in reality, I don't see the what difference would it make if he says, well, you know, I'm not an economic populist like Trump, or I am an economic populist, but Trump is more of a conservative, straightforward kind of free market guy. What difference would it make? Vice presidents don't make policy. They campaign and they go into the Senate. And he's a senator, so that's good. It's a good fit for him to be a tiebreaker. So, and I'm not trying to downplay him or insult him in any way. I'm just saying, from the interviewer's point of view, what was the point of the question, right? I feel the point of the question was to always disparage Trump one way or another. I don't see that question being asked between Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. Is there daylight between you two on the fact that you want to fund transgender surgery for prisoners, or funding transgender sex changes for detained migrants? I'm pretty sure Tim Walz will start doing cartwheels, saying, well, mind your business. Well, mind your business. I like guns. I lost my ears with guns. Guns are great. I'm a hero, right? And then, of course, Kamala Harris would say some other stuff that, you know, yeah, I meant it because we have to be unburdened by what has been. And that's what I do. We're unburdened by what has been. I don't think anybody would ask that question. So that's why I wanted you to hear that. Anyway, let's see. Let's go to a caller here. We got Andrew in Clinton, Illinois, WHOW. Andrew, go right ahead.
Good evening again, Mr. Valdez. Great show as always.
Thank you.
I was just calling. I was curious how much you heard about Operation Foremost of the military exercises in South America hosted by Brazil annually since 1988, and that actually Chinese naval personnel, active duty Chinese military personnel, participated in those exercises this year for the first time ever. From what I saw last year, they observed, but this year they actually actively took place in the exercises alongside U.S. and obviously Brazilian forces, along with several other coalition forces from African nations, South American nations. But I just found it curious that Chinese military, active duty naval personnel participating in a military action exercise.
Yeah. Well, here's what I think. I think, I saw the statement here by the Commander Nguyen from the People's Republic of China and their army. And I can say this. China is actively working with Russia and Brazil and, the BRICS consortium to steal America's lunch when it comes to the dollar being the world's reserve currency. And this is just one more feather in their cap. Folks, don't go anywhere. Rich Valdez coming right back.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to hour number 2 of our program. If you want to join us on our late night national town hall conversation, give us a call, 833-482-5337, 833-4Valdez. And I want to invite you to call the program. I also want you to follow me on Instagram because I'm getting censored like crazy. And thirdly, I want to get into this conversation, right? Because there's always some stuff that we're talking about, and there were some congressional hearings, and obviously, that's always going to be there. But the big news that I'm hearing about today is obviously that El Trompito, Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States, he made a big announcement at a campaign rally that he is intending to suspend tax on overtime. This is a very big deal. Something else that I feel is a big story is the presidential debates, right? And I played this just before, but I'm going to play it again. The co-chair of the Presidential Debate Commission, and let me see, I forget what number that is. What number is that one? 11. His name is Frank Fahrenkopf. That's Fahrenkopf, Fahrenkopf. And he, again, co-chair, he says that the ABC moderators bent over backwards to help Kamala Harris. Listen to this.
Their job is to be facilitators. They're not to get involved themselves. It's different than if you had someone on your show and you asked them a question and they answered in a different way than they said a month before. You would correct them. But moderators are not supposed to do that. A debate is between the candidates, not a debate between the candidate and the moderators. And these moderators, as far as I was concerned, it was the worst performance that I've seen. And as I said, I've done 33 of these things over the years. I don't know what their thoughts were, but they clearly were oversized, I think, on the way they treated the former president and the way they treated the present vice president. I think they bent backwards to help her.
Frank Fahrenkopf, Commission on Presidential Debates co-chair. I think those are strong words. This is not the former co-chair, right? This guy's currently the co-chair, and he's beside himself. You could hear how frustrated he is. This isn't him being a partisan. This is not him sharing his opinion. This is him sharing an observation as chair of this committee or commission where this is out of control. Now, what's interesting here is that the dean of Columbia University and others think that this was the absolute best debate they'd ever seen. So we're going to get into that in a moment, but I'll bring in our guest. And our guest is one of our favorites here, Professor Nick Giordano. Professor Nick Giordano is the professor of political science at Suffolk Community College in New York. He's the host of the PAS Report podcast, and he's a higher education fellow at Campus Reform. Professor Nick Giordano, welcome back, sir.
Thank you for having me, Rich. Always a pleasure to join you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Always a pleasure to chat with you, too. Now, listen to this. So you've got this woman. Her name, Jelani Cobb. She's the dean of Columbia University. She's on MSNBC yesterday. And, I figured since she's the dean and you're a professor, a tenured professor, this might be a good matchup here. So I want you to listen to what she says about the moderation of the debate. Check this out.
I thought this was one of the best moderated debates I've ever seen.
I agree.
They were consistent. They were professional.
Yeah.
And one of the narratives has been around how frequently Donald Trump took the bait from Kamala Harris. I think one of the lesser discussed things is the fact that the moderators never took any bait.
Right.
That they continued when he deflected, they would follow up. And that's one of the other things that people fail to do. Often with Donald Trump, he will give a non-answer and they'll just move on to the next question. They didn't do that. They did a judicious amount of fact-checking, so it wasn't intrusive, and they were like a referee in a boxing match where, you were there just to make sure that everyone is adhering to the rules, and then you're invisible.
Yeah.
It was just a banner example of how an event like that should be moderated.
It was just a banner example of moderate. Now, I have to beg your pardon, America. I have misgendered Mr. Cobb. I thought Jelani was a effeminate name. I guess given my background as, the child of two Puerto Ricans, something ending with an I is typically a girl's name. So I thought that this was a female. Jelani Cobb is a male. At least sounds like a male. Now, Professor Nick Giordano, barring my misgendering of Dean Cobb on MSNBC, what do you think? Is he onto something here? Is this the best example, a banner example of how debates should be moderated?
Well, I will forgive you for the misgendering, but as far as moderating and debates go, if anyone wants to know what's wrong with our media, they have to look at the journalism schools throughout the country, because this is the type of stuff that's forced into their mind. It's obviously a bias that exists. Moderators, the Presidential Debate Commission, he was absolutely right that they're there to facilitate a discussion between the candidates. It's up to the candidates to fact check each other. It's not the job of the moderators to get involved and start fact checking and have essentially a hostile debate. That's what it became, right? It became 3 against 1. So it really shows that a large part of the media has become nothing more than an extension of the Democrat National Committee. And that's what the debate was about. It was about trying to force Trump to bait the former president, and it was 3 against 1. This was not your typical debate that we see, and we should return to like the Lincoln Douglas style debates where it's like 3 hours long. You throw out a topic, the candidates go at it themselves, and there's just a timekeeper there. That's all there should be, because I think people are sick and tired of these types of moderators. And what's interesting, if you go back a few months ago, you had the Jake Tapper and the Donna Bash moderators, and they actually received a lot of praise. Like, Republicans couldn't find much to criticize them on because they were fair. They asked questions. The candidates answered it the way they wanted to. And it was up to the candidates to fact check each other. And it worked. It was a successful debate. This debate went horribly wrong. And we're starting to see early polling trickle in. And, Kamala Harris, as far as style and optics, everyone said that she won that debate. But the polling is not reflecting that. And I think a lot of it has to do with people just felt it was unfair.
Yeah, I saw the initial report from, I think, CNN. They did a flash poll right after the debate and had Trump up. And then little by little, I think it started to change. It's so interesting the way they put these things together. It really is, in my opinion. But let me see. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. You can't be that aggressive against one candidate and not hold the same candidate to the same standards. I mean,
right.
When we talk about not answering questions, I mean, there's not a single question. If anyone goes back and looks at that debate and listens to it again, Kamala Harris didn't answer a single question that was really asked of her. She constantly changed the subject. And that's a strategy. That's a tactic. That's what she was advised to do. If you don't like the question that's asked, just answer it and run out the clock. Answer something else the way you want to answer it. So everyone saw that, and they saw that there was no fact-checking going on the other side, and there were multiple lies and, misleading the public on that's what politicians do. But you have to hold politicians to the same standard, and if you don't, people see through it.
Folks, we're on with Professor Nick Giordano, Professor of Political Science at Suffolk County Community College. He's the host of the PAS Report podcast. Make sure you subscribe to that. And he's also a higher education fellow for a great organization, Campus Reform. Professor Nick Giordano, stick with us. We're going to come back to you momentarily. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. best guests, the best opinions. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, America, welcome back. We continue our conversation with Professor Nick Giordano, and I want to bring your attention to an article in Newsweek. It came out just a couple hours ago, around just before 5 p.m. tonight. So while you guys were making your way home and doing what you do with, to pay your bills, Newsweek put out an article. And here is the headline here. Kamala Harris dealt polling blow in key swing state in post-debate poll. And this is a new poll of voters in Michigan. After Tuesday's presidential debate, it's showing that former President Donald Trump is leading VP Harris by 1 point. Survey of 800 voters by Insider Advantage shows him at 49%, her at 48%. Now, and that seems to be the trend here. Obviously, everybody's fighting to get to that 270, but this is a big deal when it comes from a swing state. And one of the quotes they got here is, it appears that the debate had little or no impact on the contest, particularly amongst independent voters. In this particular state, Insider Advantage wrote in its analysis, the race remains extremely competitive, both in Michigan and likely in all of the battleground states. So, Professor Nick Giordano, I want to get your take on this, because Michigan is really one of those coin toss states, right? It really can go one way or the other. But I feel like Pennsylvania is one that is going to likely go to Trump. I don't see her recovering on this fracking thing, but maybe I'm totally wrong. I also didn't see Biden winning it. So what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Kamala Harris has to win Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. If she loses one of those states, she cannot win this presidential election. And I think many people are approaching it wrong. I don't think that there's a lot of undecided voters in this election. I think there's some people deciding whether or not they want to vote at all, and that's the decision they're trying to make. And with Kamala Harris, she had this euphoric rise that was totally unsustainable. And she peaked even before the Democrat National Convention. If we look from the Democrat National Convention to today, she never got a bounce out of the convention, which is very unusual. Normally you do get a bounce, and it looks like she's not going to get a bounce out of this debate. So her campaign should be worried, because essentially what people are saying is they're rejecting her. They're saying, we don't want her. And the question is, why? Is it because she's not out there? Is it because she's not appearing with the press and answering questions? Is it because she keeps on changing her positions, where there's multiple recordings of her from just a few years ago stating the opposite of what she's trying to state today? And I think that the Harris campaign does have a lot of problems right now. And I think it may be the reason. They saw something that night. I was actually talking to someone that night after the debate, and I said the first one that comes out and says that they want to have another debate usually is the loser of the debate.
Yeah.
And her campaign was the first one to say, yeah, we'd love to have another debate. So I think that while stylistically and optically she looked better on the debate night, substantively she performed worse because she didn't really say anything.
Yeah, right. 100% right. And that was my initial take as well, that she looked good up there, style. She got some points. On substance, Trump took it all, especially being that Trump was running against all three of them there, right? and
well, the thing also is Trump is a known quantity. It's not like Trump's economic policy is a secret. He was president for 4 years. It's not like Trump's foreign policy is a secret. We had largely global stability. When you look at Kamala Harris, she's trying to separate herself from Biden, but doesn't want to return to the far-left Kamala Harris of 2020. And one thing that Americans cannot stand is inauthenticity. And that's what Kamala Harris oozes. She's not authentic. She oozes phoniness. And I think people see through it. So how she begins to relate to ordinary people, I'm not sure how she does that, because I don't think she has the capability to do that. But it's not helpful when you sit there and say you work at McDonald's and McDonald's has no record of you working there. That's not something ordinary Americans usually do.
Folks, we're on with Professor Nick Giordano, Suffolk County Community College tenured professor. And Professor Nick Giordano, I read an article also in Newsweek a little bit earlier about rumors. There are rumors that there is a potential whistleblower from ABC News that may or may not be signing an affidavit saying that the questions were released to Vice President Harris's campaign, and this person has the proof or is willing to say that they saw it and go on the record. Hasn't happened, so I can't really speak to that. But what's the word that we use to protect ourselves? Hypothetically. Hypothetically, if that were the case, where do you weigh in on something like that?
I mean, it would be a pretty big scandal if that's the case. And it's not like ABC hasn't done it before. It happened in the Hillary Clinton campaign in 2016.
Sure.
However, with that being said, I mean, a lot of the questions that were asked of her were kind of predictable. I mean, they were obvious questions to ask.
Yes.
But more importantly, even if she got the questions ahead of time, then she really performed abysmally because she left herself open so many times. Yeah, well, not only that, but she left herself open so many times. It's just that Trump failed to capitalize. He could have landed several knockout blows and ended this presidential election if he was able to stay on message and just focus and put the spotlight on her. She kept opening herself up, you know, whether it's about the whole fracking thing that he didn't press her on as much, whether it's about the 3.5 years that she's had in office. He waited till the closing argument to make that statement. He should have made that statement in every single answer. You had 3.5 years. Why didn't you do it? You had 3.5 years. Why didn't you do it?
Yeah, drive the point.
And then, absolutely. And he should have talked about, she's talking about giving everyone all this money. Where are we getting this money from? Didn't that create the inflation in the first place? You were the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which was nothing more than a green energy bonanza to your donors. I mean, there were so many opportunities that he missed. And so even if she got the questions ahead of time, he still should have been able to capitalize based on her answers and her performance.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I agree with that. And it sheds light for me on why she would want to do it again, because I think she was probably expecting to get, dominated that way, right? To have all these barrage of questions, or at least a barrage of attacks from Trump, and her strategy, or I should say the David Muir strategy and Lindsey Davis strategy of helping her and carrying her through it, I think really helped. It helped her to not have to get her hands as dirty. She didn't have to get as involved, and it left Trump doing all the work. You know, I remember at one point he was actively arguing about Charlottesville, of all things, with David Muir, saying, oh, and you left out peacefully, or January 6th, rather, saying you left out peacefully and patriotically, which is great that he called him out, but he shouldn't have to call out the moderator, right? That's the whole point.
No, he shouldn't. He shouldn't. And she's calling for a second debate, but she wants it on her terms, where they pick the network, they pick the moderators again, and we all know that Trump's not going to fall for that again. There has to be fairness.
Yeah, I agree. Trump's great for walking into whatever setup they give him, but at some point you got to say, yeah, basta, enough's enough. Nick Giordano hosted a PAS report. Make sure you check him out. Folks, I want to thank you and appreciate you, Professor Nick.
Always a pleasure.
My man. All right, folks, we're coming right back.
Now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, America, welcome back. Amigos, we continue our conversation with you all, the American people. And I want to have a conversation about a couple of things, right? There's a few women that are leaving the Democrat Party, and And it seems women are leading the charge on this. So we're going to get to that momentarily. I also want to talk about a couple of things I'm looking at here, right? Russia is speeding into a demographic crisis with a 25-year low as birth rates are plummeting. North Korea issues punishments to raise their birth rate. Here in the United States, we just saw one of our lowest birth rates ever. And you couple that with our abortion rate, which is way higher than it ought to be. I think it should be 0. Then there you go. So what is the story, right? We have a society that's really being built on not having children. And that's a scary proposition, I think. That's why I always have an appreciation for people that are in the business, the ministry, the helping profession of crisis pregnancy centers, where they offer alternatives to women that want to have their children, that will give them, direction and guidance on resources that are available so that they can have a healthy pregnancy. And I think we need more of that. And one such organization is the Heartbeat of Miami. And this organization, if the name didn't give it away, is in Miami. And the president and co-founder of Heartbeat of Miami Pregnancy Help Medical Clinics is Martha Avila. And she's our guest now. Martha, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So nice to be here with you this evening. Thank you for the opportunity to just share with those listening the wonderful work that pregnancy clinics are doing all over our nation with very limited resources. You explained it so well. Just helping these women that find themselves in an unplanned pregnancy. They don't know what to do. They're afraid. They don't have the support. And we are here just to guide them, just to show them, inform them so that they can make an educated choice. And that's what we do at the Pregnancy Help Medical Clinics, with resources and everything that they need. And, we walk with them for an entire year after the baby's born. That's another thing that when people say, oh, it's all about the babies and not the moms. No, we walk with these moms. We're here to help them through their journey of being a mom.
Well, Martha, I think that's an amazing thing. And again, folks, if you want to learn more about this, the website is heartbeatofmiami.org. And tell us, you don't have to give us names, but you can give us some situations that you've come across in recent years since you've been there, and help the listeners understand what it's like when somebody comes to you, because I'm a guy. I've never been pregnant. My wife was once pregnant. I have 2 daughters. I'm divorced now, and I've never had a need to deal with a pregnancy clinic, but outside of when my children were born. But I know that there are so many people that find this to be a remarkable resource, and I know that communities aren't complete unless they have one in there. So tell us more.
Correct. Well, Rich, what happens is that since we opened our doors in 2007, over 68,000 babies have been rescued from abortion, which clearly tells us that if these women behind each baby, obviously there was a mom, and obviously there was a father involved, and it's all about bringing this couple together to help raise this child, because these children need the support and the love of both parents, and it takes 2 of them that are responsible for this child. But the interesting thing is that our help goes beyond just the crisis, right? Because when a woman comes in, she comes scared. The majority of the women we see are at risk of abortion. They don't, like I said, they don't know what to do. Many don't have insurance. Some of them, well, the majority of them are young. They really don't know any better. They might think that abortion is the only option that they have. So unless you really empower these women with the education how are they going to make an informed decision? What is it that we're giving these women? What are we empowering them with? What choices? If they walk into an abortion business, the only choice they're going to have is an abortion, because I called it a business. There's money involved. All of our services are completely free. So a woman comes in, like I said, she's scared, she doesn't know what to do. We give her the pregnancy test. If she has a positive pregnancy test, we go ahead and proceed with an ultrasound. And the ultrasound determines if it is indeed a viable pregnancy, because a positive pregnancy test doesn't necessarily mean that there's a heartbeat, that it is viable. And that's when we continue with giving them the resources that they need. Do they need to insurance? They need to apply for an insurance? They need to apply for a temporary Medicaid. They are, even if some of the women that we serve, let's say that they are undocumented women, we still are able to help them with a Medicaid, which is a temporary emergency Medicaid. They're not going to have a baby in a car. They're going to have a baby in a hospital. They're going to be well taken care of. But if these women do not know that, they're afraid, and then they think that abortion is the only option that they have. Where we provide is help them parent this child, or a plan of adoption, which is a beautiful option, as you know, Rich.
Absolutely. Folks, again, we're on with Martha Avila. She is the co-founder and the president of Heartbeat of Miami. Check out the website, heartbeatofmiami.org. And Martha, I would like you, I know that you guys are having your annual gala, and it's coming up this weekend on Saturday night. I was scheduled to be there, but because of some issues, I'm not able to join you, and I feel terribly about that. But I want anybody who's interested in supporting your cause to do that. Tell us about the gala and how people can help.
It's a beautiful event. It's our big grand fundraiser event, and we're having it at the Trump National. It's going to be a beautiful evening. We have a wonderful, precious story of an adoption, and just to show those guests exactly what we do with that testimony. We have another video of another testimony of a beautiful couple that this young lady had taken the abortion pill. She regretted it, and we were able to help her reverse the abortion through the abortion protocol that we follow with progesterone, nothing bigger than that, which a woman that is threatened by a miscarriage can also have progesterone to keep her baby. And it's just something so amazing, how God gives us a way of escape, and if a woman has taken the abortion pill, there's still time, for her to regret that and contact the abortion pill reversal hotline, and then pregnancy clinics all over our nation will be able to help her out. And so that's the other story that we have. And we're able to make, obviously, the ask for the evening for anyone that is interested in just helping us continue this beautiful cause. They will be able to donate. They can also donate on our website, www.heartbeatofmiami.org. And another thing is that during that evening, they're able to meet firsthand that baby, that child, one of 68,000. I mean, it's a big number. It sounds tremendous. I mean, how many stadiums can we fill, right? Or how many high schools can we fill with 68,000 babies? And it is just so beautiful. Rich, none of these moms have ever come back, to return the baby. They're so grateful that even in our social media, you will hear these moms just sharing their story, how they came, because they thought they were going to have an abortion. They thought they wanted an abortion, and how they chose life for their child, and how blessed and how happy they are that now they have this baby with them, and how it has totally transformed their lives. Many of these moms were able to get them back to school, get them back to work. I mean, it's just full circle. It really is. And those that cannot parent, what a beautiful opportunity to be the answered prayer of a couple that is asking, for a baby, and they haven't been able to have one. And with today adoption opportunities, there's a beautiful open plan of adoption where that biological mom can not only choose the parents that are adopting, but also be a part of this child as the child grows up and even have a relationship with that baby.
Martha, I want to pause you right there. We're going to come right back to you so that you have the ability to let everybody know your social media handle, your website, and everything else. Folks, don't go anywhere. We're on with Martha Avila, the co-founder, and CEO of Heartbeat of Miami.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back, familia. Rich Valdez, live until 1 a.m. Eastern Time with you every night. The phone number, if you want to join us, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. And I want to bring our guest back in, Martha Avila. She's president and co-founder of Heartbeat of Miami Pregnancy Help Medical Clinics. And the Heartbeat of Miami is a nonprofit organization that's serving the community in the greater Miami area. And we've been having that discussion. They have their gala coming up. And Martha, let everyone know how they can either attend the gala, support you outside of the gala, and how they could follow the work you're doing.
Thank you, Rich. Yes, our website is www.heartbeatofmiami.org. Heartbeatofmiami.org. We are serving all of South Florida. We have 5 clinics in this amazing community, very needed community. And we also have our social media as Heartbeat of Miami, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Heartbeat of Miami. And it's beautiful because it is all about that heartbeat. It is when a mom just listens to that beautiful heartbeat of their child. Over 92% of them, Rich, are choosing life for their baby.
Well, amen to that. It's an amazing work you're doing. Godspeed to you. I congratulate you on the work you're doing. Again, sorry I couldn't join you this weekend, but I look forward to being at whatever events you have come up in the future. I go to Miami often, and I love it there, and I love the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Martha Avila, you're welcome. You are a gentlewoman, a scholar, and a patriot, and I want to thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Rich, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. God bless, and hope to see you soon.
You bet. Thank you. And amigos, we continue our conversation. I want to, we'll probably take the break in a moment, but there's something I want to talk about, which is women, right? We're on the topic of women. There is a bunch of women that are leaving the Democrat Party. The former Senate Majority Leader, conference chair or caucus chair for the Democrats, Senator Gloria Romero. Not only did she leave the Democrat Party, but she's endorsing Trump. And then we have several others, a state rep in Houston, Texas, moms across America that are jumping in on this. And I've got some audio clips I'm going to play. Hopefully I can get them all in this next segment, but stick with me. I don't think you want to miss it. I'm Rich Valdez.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. now. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
So I meant to play this for you on Monday, but I've just been so busy with all of the other stuff that I didn't get to it. But I think this is a big story, and since then there's been several others that have kind of jumped on the same bandwagon. All women, all leaving the Democrat Party. And a former Democrat politician from California is ditching the Democrat Party, leaving the left, and speaking out on VP Kamala Harris's record in California. Listen to this.
In this Capitol behind me, I served as both Senate Democratic Caucus Chair and the Senate Majority Leader. But today I say goodbye. Adios. I've had enough. I am now another near lifelong Democrat who is joining the growing number of people, including key groups like Latinos, who are leaving the Democratic Party. This is not the Democratic Party that I once championed. I do not recognize it anymore, and I cannot continue. I changed my voting registration today as the sun was rising to Republican, which has, under Donald Trump, become the champion of working people, the big tent. And indeed, I will vote for Donald Trump this fall.
That, again, is former California Senate Majority Leader Gloria Romero, who is a bigwig, was a bigwig with the Democrats, and saying that there's so many like her that have been disaffected Democrats that don't recognize their so-called party of democracy any longer. And, yeah, good for her, and good for all of them who have made this journey, right, to say, I'm done with that. I think we're going to see a lot of that. We've seen it. It's nothing new, right? It's been a growing number. But in 2016, and honestly, Bush kind of paved the way with Hispanics. He had a very high turnout on Hispanics. Trump was approaching, I think Bush hit like 40%. Trump started to encroach on that territory, which is great, and is now in the 30s, I think, from the last poll I saw. And that's great. This is a big gain. I think there's a lot of Latinos that are leaving the left because they're tired of what the Democrats offer. We've had our buddy Jesse Holguin on the show before. He's a former gangbanger that was shot and is in a wheelchair now and leads an organization called Lexit, which is the Latino exit from the Democrat Party. And they've grown exponentially. They've got chapters in many states across the country, and people are actively leaving the left and then becoming activists for truth, right? They're out there telling their truth with a lot of people. You should give them a follow on the social media. Lexit Movement is their handle. And they post a lot of interesting videos of people just like this woman that once were sipping the Democrat Kool-Aid and are no longer doing that. So I've got a couple of more clips of others that, like I said, a state representative in Houston, Texas, a mom who's now become an activist, former Democrat, that called it quits, and others. Because the reality, I think, is it's not that it's on trend or it's in vogue. What it is that people are tired of not being able to afford their lifestyle. And they've realized little boys are becoming little girls. Crime is running rampant. Inflation is something that they didn't think they'd ever see it in this lifetime. America's not what it once was. And people are sick and tired of it. So keep it locked right here. We're going to go to Open Phone America now. If you want to join us, your calls and more coming up. 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. I am Rich Valdez. Keep it locked right here. We're coming right back.
From the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to hour number 3 of our program. The phone number, if you want to join us, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. And we're going to get to your calls in just a moment or so. Part of what I want to talk about tonight is what we've been talking about, right? We've had some discussion on the debates. We've had discussion on people leaving the Democrat Party and so much more. And there's a particular clip of audio I want to share with you. And for the sake of time, I'm going to jump right into it because it's a little on the longer side. But quite a clip of audio it is nonetheless. And there's a trend across America, across the country, I should say, that I'm seeing where women are kind of leading the charge to walk away from the Democrat Party. And this is a big deal because the Democrats pride themselves on women as a key of voting bloc. And I think that, I don't think it's, record numbers yet. But the fact that they're trickling away just like Hispanics are trickling away, just like African-American men are trickling away, and now women, I think is a big deal. And Jade is an ex-Democrat. She is passionate, incredibly passionate. And I want you to listen to her giving these remarks at a large forum. Check this out.
My name is Jade. I am a former Democrat. Unlike Kamala Harris, I'm an actual real-life black woman. And I'm a former Democrat who is currently registered Republican. I stand here before you today because I'm tired. I'm tired of the Democrats using the generational trauma of my people to garner votes. They invoke fear. They tell me I'm oppressed. They tell me I'm less than. They tell me I'm not good enough. And they tell me that my white brothers and sisters in Christ are my enemy. No. They are not. As a follower of Jesus Christ, Ephesians 5:11 tells me I must expose the works of the enemy. And the enemy is telling me that don't worry that I can't pay my bills, that I'm working 6 days a week this week and I'm tired. And I went to school and I have a career. I'm doing worse under this administration than in Donald Trump's administration, but I'm told to be afraid of a man who made my life better. Yep. How does that work? Make it make sense. During COVID, I knew more of my white guy friends that lost their jobs than me and my black girlfriends. We are the same in this country. All these Americans want the same thing. We want safety. We want prosperity. We want peace. And the Democrats keep going back and look, check it out, right? I honor my ancestors and the people who fought for us to be in this room here today. No one is discounting what my people went through, but honor them by getting past it and invoking forgiveness in this culture. I'm so tired of being told I need to be afraid. I'm so tired that I need to be told all the time that I have to vote for the Democrats who have done nothing positive for my life at all. My life is totally worse than it was during the Trump administration. Yet I kept having, you must vote for the Democrats. We're told this as black people since we were a child. Let's honor our ancestors by doing better and honor them, because they're rolling over in their graves hearing the fact that Kamala Harris is having Megan Thee Stallion twerk and showing our bodies as these just vessels of lust. That's not cool. These women out here are being told that Donald Trump is like their enemy, when really Kamala Harris opening up the border, look what happened to Laken Riley. She's a woman. She was a woman just like I am. No woman, black or white, wants that to happen to her. All of these people whose kids are dying, the black moms, the white moms, they all cry the same color tears. Yes, yeah. So let's move past this. Let's vote for Donald Trump so we can all be prosperous again. Let's get out of this fear, this rage, and this anger, because it comes from the devil. So hear me, black folks. Hear me, white folks. We are so much more alike than we are different. Oh, yeah. We need to forgive each other. We need to help each other. And I don't owe the Democrats anything. They owe me. They're to serve us. They're public servants. Stop putting them on a pedestal. Make them work for us.
I'm here doing a slow clap for this woman. I thought her remarks were outstanding, and we need more of that, I believe. I think we need more of that for sure, because, I mean, why not, right? Why not have people that are saying, you know what, I'm done with the Democrat Party. Let's go to Joe, Salem, Arkansas, KSAR. Joe, go right ahead. You're on with Rich Valdez.
Oh, that's number 3 for good news today. Number 1 was Alan Dershowitz. You heard about him, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
He's gone from the Democrats, even with his family in opposition, kind of like Kennedy was, you know. Number 2, Martha. Man, God bless her. She's an angel without wings, or maybe she's got some wings. But God bless you for putting her on there. I mean, that made my day right there. We're talking about 92% changed their mind, 68,000 babies saved. Now, I'll tell you what, the Spirit of God is moving not only in the hearts of men, but in the ladies, too. I'm so glad to hear all this good news. But anyway, thank you for that. And that's there is one thing, though, Rich.
Yes, sir.
Did you catch the abortion reversal pill as to how much time a woman's got to reverse it, and does it actually work? What's the procedure consist of?
Yeah, I know she mentioned progesterone, and I wish she was still around to get into it a little more. I don't know. I didn't even know that was a thing. You know, that was a kind of first time I'd heard about that, and I'm glad that's a thing. I had no clue. Very good question, and we'll definitely work on finding out an answer to that one. Joe in Salem, Arkansas. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the accolades and the kind words. Shout out to KSAR. Let us continue. Let's go to, we just had somebody who wanted to yell at me. Well, somebody, I think it was Jerome. Jerome was saying, would I let my kids, my daughters, date someone like Trump? No brainer. My daughter, my youngest daughter, she is 19. She'll be 19 in like 10 days or so. And pretty much the same age as Trump's youngest son, Barron Trump. And yeah, why wouldn't I? I mean, I think they're a very decent family, good morals, good values. They love the country. They serve the country. I don't see what the issue is. Now, I know the media has taken exception to Trump, saying that, you know, he is a horrible man, that because he said that he had nothing to do with E. Jean Carroll, and that she's not his type, that she's not attractive enough for him, that somehow that equated to a sexual battery charge in a civil lawsuit. Obviously, these are stupid things, right? Very stupid things. Anybody who believes that because some judge said that Trump is guilty of sexual battery or harassment or whatever the charge was, because he said that the woman was ugly and that she wasn't his type, after them saying that he'd done nothing to her with respect to actual, sexual assault. I mean, you've got to be kidding me, right? This whole thing is contrived. The whole thing is made up. But yet, this is what people want to do. They want to make Trump out to be a bad guy. You get some general that doesn't like Trump, and because he has called John McCain some choice words because of his, differences of opinion with McCain personally, you're going to say that he said that all people at the cemetery were suckers and losers? I mean, this is what kind of person would do that to begin with? Like, what would the benefit be? Have you ever met a person that's like, yeah, I think all these military people are suckers and losers. Oh, wait, there's a camera. Let me spend every year of my life being honorable and respectful to men and women in uniform. Trump's always been honorable to those people. So the stuff just doesn't make sense. But they'll throw anything out there that they can. All day long, all I see on Instagram is I see pictures of Muhammad Ali and Trump, Rosa Parks and Trump. All these black entertainers. Jesse Jackson, who spoke very favorably of Trump. I played some audio for you here back in 1988, 1990, whatever it was, 1999, talking about his 88 run for president, where Trump funded in part that campaign. All of a sudden now, Trump is a racist. I mean, it just goes on and on about how they lie about the guy. So, yeah, Jerome, yes, I would totally. I think Trump is remarkable, honestly. Oh, we have Jerome. Oh, let's bring him on. I thought I lost him. Jerome in South Carolina, Charleston area, WTMA. So, yeah, that's the answer. I would definitely let my daughters go out with a man like Trump. Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't I? Did you see that videotape of him with Billy Bush and what he said to him? You can do what you want when you're a celebrity. You can grab him by the you-know-what. You going to take a chance on that bum going out with one of your daughters? What kind of father are you? Huh?
A pretty good one, I think.
Not for making a decision like that.
Listen, I don't know about you, Jerome. Perhaps you have always been preaching from the pulpit and giving out communion on Sundays. But I have definitely had plenty of forays into locker room talk like the one Trump had. And I got no issue. I've got no issue with it. I think Trump said things that were true for a single playboy at the time. And he's a married man now. He's been married, I don't know, 15 years or whatever it is. His third marriage. People behave a certain way when they're married, and they behave a certain way when they're not, right? That makes sense to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong for thinking that way, but if you don't have a wife, there's no. What's stopping you from meeting new people? And again, he said it's like they'll almost let you. I've heard that tape a million times. He was not saying that he goes around doing these things. So I heard the tape. It was crass, and he labeled it as locker room talk. I agree. That's where it should stay. Not something that you want to do in front of women. Not something I think he would do in front of women. I think he's always been quite a gentleman in front of women. And I think that's as real as it gets. And he gave a very sincere apology after that. Anyway, Jerome, thank you for your call. I always appreciate you giving a call to disagree with me. Let's see. We got another one disagreeing with me. I'll go to you right after the break because it's time to take a break. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Best head of hair in live late night radio 6 years in a row. It's Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, we continue our live late night national town hall conversation with calls from Ohio, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Maryland, and more coming in. 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. And let's see, where do we go? We go to Bill. Bill is in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, WRNN. Bill, go right ahead.
Rich, we've talked before. I'm the man that gave you the nickname Rich Bunchinchero Valdez.
I love it. What's on your mind?
Okay, I got two issues tonight. First,
well, you're only going to get one, so pick the best one.
Oof. All right, let's go for the morals of Trump. You said he's got great morals. What happened to cheating on wife number one with wife number two, getting wife number two pregnant while married to wife number one, then cheating on wife number two with wife number three?
Yeah, I don't know. Listen, you know how many people I know that have kids out of wedlock, that are whatever. Maybe my standard for morality is not that high, but I believe in forgiveness. I'm not here to judge people for these things. I wouldn't do them myself. I would try my best not to do them. But something I've learned in life that there's a lot of things that I wouldn't want to do, and I don't think I would do. But you never know. You know, as they say in Spanish, cuando te toca, when it's your lot for that to happen. So I try to keep an open mind about certain things.
Okay, but, set E. Jean Carroll aside. What about the other 30 women since 1970 that accused him of sexual assault and rape.
Well, what about him? None of these things have been adjudicated in court. I think 19 of them were dismissed as fake, phony, and fraud. When you are a public figure, people will come at you and attack you. We've seen it happen to Mike Tyson. He wasn't as lucky. He ended up going to jail. I don't for a second believe that Mike Tyson was raping anybody, right? He's not a Puff Daddy or a Bill Cosby type. This is, a heavyweight champion of the world, and I think people will take advantage of you if you give them a chance to take advantage. And Trump, he's always had a target on him. The guy has done. I grew up in New York. Trump is a New Yorker. I can tell you, he's always been helping. There was a parade that was going to be defunct because they had no more money in their committee. Trump came through, no fanfare, and Trump loves a camera and a headline, but he helped them out. He made sure that thing stayed afloat. I think it was $300,000 that they needed. And this was, again, many years ago. Trump has always been that guy. He's a very decent guy. And I think when you put him on a scale, if there's things you like about him, things you don't like about him, just like any one of us, I'm sure there's people that listen to this show, maybe you included, that say, this guy, I like a few of the things he says, but some of the stuff he says is off the wall. But on the scale of things, I think Trump wins every time. There's more good than bad. Bill.
I agree with you on the Mike Tyson thing. But the question that was posed to you, would you want someone like that dating your daughter?
Yeah, again, well, Trump's almost 80 years old and my daughter's 19. But again, using his son Barron as an example, I would happily allow that to happen. I wouldn't say my rules for that stuff are pretty simple. I tell them, you know what, you want to make sure these people have a faith that matches ours. We happen to be Christians, so it's faith in Jesus Christ. What else do we want to do? We want to make sure that they come from a solid family background. Right, that they love their parents, that they have relationships with their parents, that there's a familial bond there, not somebody that is like, I don't really talk to my family. That's not a good sign, right? Because that's not the type of family that I have and that my kids are used to. So I think these are the things that you want to look out for and make sure that are on the up and up. And I don't see any of those things out of whack. If Trump in his 30s and 40s was a billionaire playboy and gets married in his 50s and then it doesn't work out and gets remarried again, and whatever the case is, and now he's in his 70s and he's been married for 15 years and he's finally successful at it, who am I to hate on a guy like that? Good for him. I was married once too. I was married for 10 years, didn't work out. I've been single for a while. I have a girlfriend. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And maybe I'll get married again. I think that's just how the cookie crumbles in life for people.
All right. Have a good night, Rich.
You got it, Bill. Thanks for the call. All right, let's continue. Let's go to Barb, Chicago, Illinois, WLS. Barb, go right ahead.
Hi, Rich. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, my pleasure.
Rich, I found out today that Kamala Harris's sorority sister was one of the debate moderators. Huh. So
I'm guessing it wasn't David Muir.
She's an AKA, an Alpha Kappa Alpha. It's a sorority that is based here in Chicago. Their headquarters is in Chicago, and this Lindsay Davis is an AKA as well as Kamala Harris.
Yeah, well, I mean, Lindsay Davis is my age. Kamala Harris is 60-some-odd years old, or 60 years old. So I doubt they even knew each other. What are you going to do, right? That's like saying, oh my gosh, these people are both Democrats or they're both Republicans. I'm sure you're going to find a lot of affinity between people in politics and people in the media. Thank you for your call. I appreciate it. Hope you'll call back again soon, Barb. Folks, we're coming right back. The rest of your calls and more. Don't go anywhere.
America at Night, your home for the best election coverage. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
That they were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. And there was a specific case. And when I learned about the case, I worked behind the scenes to not only make sure that that transgender woman got the services she was deserving. So it wasn't only about that case. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need. And I believe it was not only, I know it was historic in California, but I believe actually it may have been one of the first, if not the first in the country, where I pushed for that policy in a Department of Correction.
That's Kamala Harris back in 2020, 4 years ago, where she says that she was funding and fighting for the funding for transgender surgeries for inmates. Now, it wasn't that long ago where she filled out that questionnaire and said that she would fund transgender or sex reassignment surgery for detained migrants. What is going on here? I mean, really now. Anyway, I want to get your thoughts on that and so much more. That stuff to me is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. But let us go to the rest of the calls here. Let's see. Who do we got here? Who's up next in the line? Let's go to Sunny. Sunny's in St. Louis, Missouri, streaming online, richvaldez.com. Sunny, go right ahead.
Hi, I was just calling in because I agree with you on the Trump being locker room talk.
Yeah, look at that. And you sound like you identify as a woman, which is good. So I guess you would, from your perspective, you would agree that there are certain things guys would say amongst themselves and they wouldn't say in front of women.
Absolutely. That's just human. And I think too many people are trying to hold Trump to a certain standard that they don't hold anybody else to.
Including themselves.
They're not. Exactly. And they're not looking at what he stands for, his policies, what he's going to do for America, where we are now, where he can take us, where we were already at. It's ridiculous, some of the things that people are coming up with. I mean, you could go down the line of every person that, Bill Clinton, et cetera, of things that they've done. But when it comes down to it, what do we need this person in office for what he's going to do for us? Where is it going to take us?
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's what it comes down to. It's not about what he says. If he does grab women by the crotch, okay. But you know what? He's still going to lead this nation like nobody else has.
Well, I'm hoping that he had permission to grab her by the crotch. But, Sonny, I get your point, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the call. Big shout-out to everybody listening in St. Louis, Missouri, and streaming the program. And I want to continue. Let's see, where do we go from here? We go to Zeke, calling us from Hawken Hills, Ohio, KDKA. Zeke, is anybody eating your pets?
I think we're going to have to soon.
You can eat your own pets because of the economy.
Get their way.
That's funny.
Hey, I was sharing with your just courteous and kind staff. My wife says you're like our Moses, and they're like your Aaron. They're just kind of like you, kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you.
But anyhow, man. I was kind of thrilled to hear that somebody might be blowing the whistle on El Diablo and her minions. And is there really any basis to this?
I don't know. I don't have any inside track on this. I saw some reports, and it could be hype. I mean, look. For years, since 2017, I've been hearing all sorts of things about whistleblowers and this and that and the other. And sometimes it's real. Usually when it gets to a congressional hearing, those are pretty legit. Thus far, I haven't seen anything. And the only thing I've seen Trump tweet about was the lawfare stuff. So to be continued. But it would be nice. It would be nice if that were the case. Honestly, at the end of the day, I mean, it would be nice to expose that, but we can't get to where we're going by looking in the rearview mirror. We have to look forward and push ahead. And that would be one of those things where rather than talking about getting our guy across the finish line, we're talking about, oh, and by the way, they had this rigged debate and they were giving out the questions. And look, if it comes out, and it'll be great because that would be a very appropriate thing. I think it would be the conversation of many people in the weeks to come. Be like, oh, but what about when they gave her the answers at the thing? You'll have, a handful of people that'll be like, oh, come on, I would never let my daughter date Trump. I would never take debate questions. He's a sexual predator, right? You're going to have the people that always hate him no matter what. But you're also going to have some of the people that say, wow, you know what? It's messed up. Like when they shot Trump and when they try to put him in jail and when they fined him $175 million and when they impeached him twice and all of these different things that they've done and when they raided his house. All of these things, I think, have brought people over to the Trump column because they're looking at it and they say, you know, how bad is this man? He's just a rich guy that ran for president and won. You know, relax. The reality is he broke all the rules. And the rules he broke were that he's not part of the established global order. He was one of the elites, but is outside of their color scheme, if you know what I mean. You know, he's willing to color outside of the lines. He wants to go outside of the box. And they don't like that stuff because it messes up their cash flow. And he doesn't care because he's got hotels and clubs and all sorts of things to make money off of. He doesn't need to make money off of deals that he makes with central banks or in the government. So this is why they're coming at him and they're giving him everything they got to make sure that at the end of the day, you have somebody that's amenable to either side. This is why for many years, we've always lauded the idea of bipartisan. It was almost like a magic word. It was like, no, you got to be bipartisan. Bipartisan's great. It's the best thing ever. And, you know, it isn't until you really start magnifying things and looking at them and going, well, if this is bad and this is good, why would I want to be bipartisan with the bad? And I'm not saying that they're all bad and that they're bad and their ideas are bad, but certain pieces of legislation are clearly bad. There's a lot of things that are bad for America and bad for Americans. So if those things are bad, why on earth would I want to be half bad and colluding with the bad guys? I wouldn't. And that's, to me, the biggest point here. Ultimately, what matters most, in my opinion, is that we get across the finish line. But I'm with you. I would love to see these things be true. I'd love to see a congressional hearing because it adds momentum to the idea that if they tried to cheat in a debate, we caught them cheating last time with Donna Brazile with the questions and all that stuff. We know this has happened already. So it would add, right? It becomes like this is how when was the last time you caught Republicans doing this? And these are the type of contrast questions I think we need to ask. Zeke in Hawken Hills, Ohio. Don't go eating your pets just yet. Guard them from the migrants. I think things are going to get a little bit better. Folks, I'm going to take a pause right here. We're going to come right back. A lot of calls. We're going to get to them all. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Rich Valdez, who, again, will do a fine job, and I know you'll enjoy listening to him.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, to the phones we go. Let's go to Julie, Sacramento, California, streaming online, richvaldez.com. Go right ahead.
Oh, you Rich. I called many times before, but...
Welcome. What's on your mind tonight?
Okay. That woman who... she's black, she's East Indian, I don't know how many things she is. She's evil. She makes a lot of people call you and say they're on her side. Many bad things about Trump, which is not true. She's a liar.
Yeah, Kamala Harris. Yeah, well, listen.
Yes.
There was an article that came out a couple of days ago in The Federalist, Julie, and check this out. 25 lies that Kamala Harris told in the debate against Trump. So, yeah, I think you're spot on that one. Thank you. We continue the speed round. Let's go to Katie. Katie's in Reading, Pennsylvania, WEEU. Great station. Katie, go right ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say about Harmela, because I call her that,
Yeah.
that I believe, since everybody thinks she's a flippity fish, just like my cat's toy, that her theme song should be Fish Heads.
That's brutal. It's a tough crowd out there, but you're right. She flip-flops a lot, and that's part of the issue that we have with Kamala Harris is that she's on so many sides of the issue, and they asked Gavin Newsom at the debate, They were like, what do you think about her changing her position on fracking and this and that? And he tried to spin it himself, saying, well, I think it's great. It shows that she's a nuanced candidate. She's taking in new information. She's willing to make a change. The problem is she's not willing to make a change because she's likely going to go back on that because her friends on the left are going to, yell at her and beat her up if she doesn't agree to get rid of fossil fuels forever and ever and ever. Amen, right? So that's a big issue. Katie in Reading, Pennsylvania, WEEU, thank you so much. Let us continue. Bill, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, KDKA. Go right ahead quickly.
Hi, Rich. Hey, man, I'm getting old. Okay. No, it's my problem. I'm going to be 70. All right. All I want to tell you was I had a lot of fun in my life. I got 15 grandchildren. I never cared about politics. I didn't give one poop about politics until Obama arrived. Now, why I'm saying that, and I would be called a racist, I imagine. No, it was what he promised us. He promised the country transformation. And then when it started catching my ear as I was getting older, what does he mean by transformation, transforming America?
Yeah, fundamentally transforming America.
I think we see that now, what he meant and what he is still doing, behind these puppets that are in the Democratic Party, and he's got another puppet that is ready to, God forbid she wins.
I think you're right, Bill. And, part of the issue with her is, besides all the disingenuous commentary she makes, is just exactly what you're saying, that there's other people that are pushing these things here. One thing I think we could say for certain, who's in charge of Donald Trump? Nobody, right? The guy's like ungovernable. So there's no George Soros or type of character that's lurking in the shadows pulling Donald Trump's strings. That's a huge plus. Whereas we don't know that to be the case for Kamala Harris or even Joe El Baboso Biden. They all have so many close ties to Soros and the rest of them. So good point, Bill. I appreciate it. I'm going to continue. Same neck of the woods. Actually, let me go down to Alabama. Hannah is in Dothan, Alabama on WDBT. Very quickly, go right ahead.
Yes, thank you. I'm calling in reference to the female caller a few calls back from Chicago, stressing the importance that the moderator, is a sorority sister of Harris's, and that is so important. I've seen many pictures of Harris with this group of women. It matters not that they went at the same university, in the same sorority there, particular one there, but in the AKA is the strongest black sorority. It goes way beyond what their membership lasts a lifetime of. It's an active lifetime of membership, and so it.
Well, I get what you're saying, and I think it's honestly it's the same as what I'm thinking, right? I get that there's this affinity, and then they look out for their sisters and brothers, the Q dogs and the AKAs. I grew up with these people, but I can tell you, I can call my Republican friends and pull a lot of strings, and Democrats can call their Democrat friends and pull a lot of strings. So the reality to me is there's always going to be any number of affinity groups between the media and people in politics. I think it's an unfair expectation to say, Trump went to Wharton, and let's say he's doing a debate, and Larry Kudlow is the moderator, and Kudlow also has some affiliation with the Wharton School at University of Pennsylvania. Oh, there we go. Now we're colluding somehow. There's a ton of areas where people have affinity with other people that may have loyalty to them. That's just real. I mean, it's like saying, if I went somewhere and I bumped into somebody, I was speeding, let's say, and I get pulled over by a cop that happens to also be a listener of this program and sees, and he might say, oh my gosh, you're Rich Valdez. Hey, you know what? Slow down, bro. I don't want to give you a ticket today. Just slow down. There's so many points of affinity that we have. When people like you, they like you, and they're going to look you out. I get that. I just think it doesn't make a difference whether it's a sorority or a political party or whatever. These people were going to help her irrespective of where they went to school, when they went to school, how they went to school. This is what they do. The people in the media today are an instrumentality of the left. It's the left within the media. And there's nothing we can do to change that except bring our own people, conservatives, into our own media and then have a fight, right? And go at it. And right now we're outnumbered, just like we're outnumbered by people in blue states. This is why they constantly win what they like to call the popular vote. There's more of them than there are of us. So we have to fight twice as hard. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to win them over. And I think we're seeing that time and again with more and more women jumping on board with the Democrat Party. Hannah, thank you for your call, or jumping off board, I should say. And WDBT, shout out to you guys. Folks, I'm going to take a quick pause right here. We're coming right back. It's the Speed Round. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. And you remember that show Duck Dynasty with Willie Robertson? They grew up in like the bayou of Louisiana. And I remember one of the uncles on that show, he was constantly like finding roadkill on the road, and he would pull over and take it with him and go home and skin it and eat it. And they ate squirrel, and those guys would cook anything they could catch. And Paul in Boise had a comment about that as well. And it made me think of that show. And again, depends on where you grow up in the United States. Like I said, certain parts of Puerto Rico, people are eating iguanas right off of the tree, and they call it pollo de palo, right? And that means chicken from the tree. Anyway, so not totally shocked at what's going on with these Haitians, but eating them bloody and raw, like cannibal style, that's kind of crazy. Whatever's happening in Ohio sounds fishy. Let us continue. Where do we go? Romulus, Chicago, Illinois. What's your question about Kamala and the debate?
Oh, I don't have a question. I want to say one thing that you and Trump have in common. Although he's not a Valdez, you guys are both rich, and that's also in common with Teddy Roosevelt, who was one of the best presidents. Well, I want to talk about the debate because I hear everyone is pushing this narrative that Trump took the bait and Trump was unhinged and went down the rabbit holes. I don't see what bait he took. I mean, I think he won every single point. He was calm.
I think he made every single point, Romulus. What I think people are talking about is I would do a play-by-play of his debate performance versus Biden and versus Harris. Versus Biden, he walked in there knowing he was a winner. He never doubted that he was a winner. He cracked a smile all night long. He was super chill and very gracious. And I think he was frustrated. He was a little hot under the collar. And it doesn't mean he's wrong for doing that. I just think, debates it's a show. It's a show for the people that are watching. And lamentably, some of the people wanted to see him take the high road because she sat there and laughed through the whole thing. So you kind of got to match that energy in some ways, I think, to get the rest of the people involved. Romulus in Chicago, WLS. Thank you, sir. I don't have enough time now. I wanted to go to Norma and to Allison, Andrea, and Frank. Paul's still on hold. We've got a lot of people on hold. I owe you guys for mañana. I'm sorry. Andrea in Pittsburgh, I'm glad that you called. And I don't know what you're talking about, government paperwork and fracking, but if you're gracious enough to call back tomorrow, I would love that. Norma, thank you for voting Republican, even though you're tired of the Democrats manipulating you. Hopefully you'll come over to the dark side and keep voting for conservatives. And that's it for me. Hasta la próxima. Take care. Good night. And God bless you, America. I'm Rich Valdez.